Star Trek Deep Space Nine Highest Score. Chapter 1. As the runabout Mekong shot through the wormhole at top speed, young Jake Sisko fought with the controls of the small craft. "Hang on," Jake called to his Ferengi friend Nog, who sat in the co-pilot seat. "It's going to be a bumpy ride." The bald-headed Ferengi boy tugged on his huge, scrolled ears and squinted at the tactical station. "I'm prepared for anything," he said in his raspy voice. His blue-nailed fingers danced over the buttons, prepping the weapon system controls.
"We've got to get back to Deep Space Nine before the ceremony starts, or we'll be in big trouble."
In front of them, the swirling, flashing colors of the wormhole opened up like a giant round doorway into black space. The Mekong streaked through, heading back toward home.
"Look out!"
Nog cried. Directly across their bow, a cloud of cratered rubble appeared, suddenly springing into crystal focus. Jagged lumps of rock flew through space, crisscrossing their path, ready to destroy anything that crashed into them. "A meteor storm! Use the phasers, Nog!" Jake shouted. "I'm taking evasive action."
"Our shields are almost at zero from that last Orion attack,"
Nog said.
"We can't take much more."
The runabout plunged into the swarm of deadly meteoroids, dodging and spinning. Jake switched the command controls to manual and rolled the spacecraft between two tumbling boulders, each the size of a cargo transport. Jake could see the pockmarked stony surface below him as the runabout scraped by. "That was close." Nog punched the weapons controls.
"Targeting phasers now," he said.
An icy meteoroid hurtled in front of them, directly on a collision course. Nog fired twice. The red-orange explosions from the phasers cracked the rock. A third blast turned the meteoroid into a cloud of glowing space rubble. "Good shot," Jake said, laughing. The runabout crashed through the debris cloud with scattered thumps and clangs as the rock fragments battered the smooth white hull of the ship. "Give me a damage report," Jake called. Nog punched up one of the tactical screens and scanned a diagram of the Mekong.
"Could have been a lot worse, but our shields are failing, and we've got to make it back to DS9, or else."
"How much time do we have?" Jake asked.
"Only about 1 standard hour,"
Nog answered after checking the chronometer.
"If we don't use the talisman to stop the ceremony, that bomb is going to blow up the whole station."
"We'll make it," Jake said in a low voice, gritting his teeth. "We have to." He didn't let himself relax for a moment as he punched the impulse engines, adding a burst of acceleration. He looked out the right cockpit window just in time to see another broken meteoroid streaking toward them.
"To the side!"
Nog cried. With their shields weakened, Jake's only defense was to dodge. He rammed the engines to maximum speed and the runabout jerked forward. Jake and Nog both cried out as the immediate acceleration shoved them against their piloting seats, but the meteoroid came on, too big and too fast. The Mekong almost escaped, but the careening rock clipped the port engine pod, sending the ship spinning out of control. The stars cycled around them like a whirlpool of white streaks outside the front ports. "Stabilize! Stabilize!" Jake cried. Nog, his small eyes wide open in terror, pounded the control board.
"I'm trying,"
he said. He hit more buttons.
"Major damage to starboard warp nacelle."
The runabout wheeled out of control, and the scattered stars in the sky made Jake feel dizzy. His stomach tightened as he used every ounce of his piloting knowledge, firing short bursts from the impulse engines to stop the runabout's dizzying plunge through the meteor storm. "Doesn't look good," Jake said, flashing a sidelong glance to Nog at the tactical station. "We're crippled. It's going to take all of our skill just to crawl back to Deep Space Nine, and that bomb is still ticking." The Ferengi boy took another glance at his tactical screens and froze.
"Uh-oh,"
Nog said.
"Look who's coming out of the wormhole."
The wormhole flared, dilating and spilling out one of the deadly Orion ships. I guess we didn't get away from him after all, Jake said.
I'll bet he's mad at us,
Nog observed. We've got to squeeze all the speed we can out of these engines. If we get close enough to Deep Space Nine, Jake said, they'll turn on their shields and protect us.
Unless the station blows up first,
Nog said, his voice tinged with panic.
How are we going to move with only one engine?
Nog checked his screens again.
The Orion is powering up his weapons. We're doomed.
Jake slammed the impulse engine controls past the red line maximums. The Mekong responded sluggishly, but he did not dare let up, trying to maneuver around the flying debris at the edge of the meteor cloud. The Orion's got to come through this meteor shower just like we do, right?
But his shields are at full strength, unlike ours,
Nog said.
If you hit one of those rocks, we're done for.
And if we let that Orion catch us, Jake said, we're just as done for. He wants to destroy that talisman at all costs. Surrender and prepare to be boarded, came the threatening voice of the Orion commander. You are doomed.
Should we call for help?
Nog said.
Maybe your father could...
No, Jake shouted. We can do this ourselves. The Orion fired a plasma burst from his ship, but the bolt went wide, striking one of the nearby meteoroids.
Too close,
Nog said. The patter and thump of blasted meteoroid chunks struck them again.
More hull damage. A couple of microleaks,
Nog continued.
Our shields are completely gone.
The ship swooped down on them, powering up its weapons systems again. A second plasma burst sizzled past, burning so close that Jake imagined he could feel the ionization crackle through the hull of the Mekong.
We should surrender,
Nog said.
We don't have a chance.
What's the point in surrendering? Jake said. His voice grew high-pitched with tension. Don't give up on me now, Nog. The whole station is at stake if we don't get out of this. The Ferengi boy took a deep breath and nodded. Look, I've got an idea, Jake said, punching down on the controls. See that fringe of the meteor cloud? We'll go toward that, hide and seek. It's our last chance for cover. Nog looked out the front port windows, seeing the forest of space rocks.
You're going toward the meteors?
Yes, Jake said, drumming his fingers on the control panel. I'm going to jettison our damaged nacelle and detonate it. Maybe the Orion will think we crashed into one of the meteoroids and blew up. As soon as the nacelle detonates, I want a full shutdown. Turn everything off. We'll hang dead in space. He swallowed nervously. There's a chance he won't notice us.
But there's a chance he will,
Nog said. I didn't say it was a very good chance. Besides, we don't have any better choice, Jake answered. He changed course, arrowing toward the scattered rocks. The Orion ship increased speed to pursue, weapons systems glowing and ready to fire. Jake knew the ship wouldn't miss a third shot. When the last of the meteoroids swept past them, Jake dodged as best he could with the sluggish controls. As soon as several of the rocks came between him and the other ship, Jake jettisoned the smoldering warp nacelle from the bottom of the runabout. The Mekong spun out of control. Jake shielded his eyes as he saw the cylindrical engine pod tumbling in a sparking arc toward the meteoroid. 3, 2, 1, he counted, and just as the Orion crossed over the fringe of the largest meteoroid, the warp nacelle blew up, showering space with flying shards of metal and glowing debris. Full shutdown while the sensors are blinded, Jake cried. Together, he and the Ferengi boy frantically switched off their running lights, shut down their impulse engines, and removed all trace of their energy signature in space. Now we wait, Jake said, sitting in the darkness. The cockpit of the runabout was lit only by the starlight. In the distance, he could see the glittering lights of Deep Space Nine, impossibly far away. Meanwhile, the hidden doomsday bomb on the station continued its countdown, and only Jake and Nog had the power to stop it. But first they had to escape.
We're like sitting waterfowl,
Nog said. Not if we manage to fool him, Jake said, keeping his fingers crossed. But, as they watched, the Orion continued on course, straight toward them. The firing ports of his plasma weapons glowed, ready to fire.
No good,
Nog said. Get those engines on again, Jake shouted. We have to make a run for it.
I can't start the engines cold, Nog said. They won't work.
Well, do something, Jake yelled. Anything. The Orion fired his plasma weapons. The engines of the Mekong stuttered to life, and the ship nudged forward. Then the power died again. Orion plasma bolts came in at full power. Jake and Nog had no shields, no mobility. There was no escape. Hang on, Jake cried, as a sound like exploding thunder rammed into the back of the runabout.
We're hit, Jake,
Nog screamed over the din. A second, stronger bolt crashed into them, and Jake had only an instant to spin around in his pilot's chair before the back bulkhead of the Mekong erupted in blue-hot flames. The engine exploded, igniting the antimatter core. The entire runabout disintegrated into an expanding tidal wave of glowing energy that surrounded Jake with a brilliant glare, leaving only the terrible, bright green words hanging in the air of the arcade game booth. Game over. Nog's eyes glittered with excitement as he gave up the simulator controls and stood rubbing his clawed hands together.
Did you see that, Jake? Look at our score. That's the highest we've ever gotten.
Jake still felt disoriented from the sudden end of the game. He looked around the blank simulator room until he saw the numerical value of the score they had achieved. It cheered him up to see how well they had done, but not well enough. I still wish we could get all the way to the end of the game, just once.
Jake, nobody's ever made it all the way through this simulation. Not even professional pilots.
Jake nodded. Yeah, but nobody's practiced as much as we have either. We've spent every free hour at this game for the last month.
Next time,
Nog said with a grin. He looked at his wrist chronometer in sudden alarm.
I need to get back to Quark's, he said. My uncle told me I have to work this afternoon. If I'm late, he'll be very angry.
As the Ferengi boy scuttled toward the door of the arcade, Jake followed him. See you here tomorrow? Jake said.
Okay, let's try to do better,
Nog answered, then dashed out into the promenade toward his uncle's bar and casino. Back in their quarters, Jake's father, Commander Benjamin Sisko, was not so pleased to hear about his son's highest score. Jake, Commander Sisko said, don't you think you've been spending altogether too much time in the arcade? I can tell you're getting very good at it, and I'm proud for your sake. But what good is all that practice going to do you? It won't benefit you later in life. Jake shrugged in exasperation. Dad, I wasn't thinking about what good it would do to me. Nog and I have fun, and besides, he said with a hopeful smile, it keeps us out of trouble, doesn't it? You told us to find something that would keep us out of trouble. Sisko's frown turned up with the slightest hint of a smile. I'd rather you put a little variety into your free time, something that could help you in your future career. Jake sighed. There's nothing else to do on this station. He sat down on his bed and folded his hands in his lap as he stared at the floor plates. How about studying? Sisko said. Oh, Dad, Jake said. Look, Jake, Sisko said, I don't want to be hard on you, because I know you didn't want to come to Deep Space Nine in the first place. But don't you think you're getting old enough that you should start considering what you want to do with your life? I know you don't necessarily want to go into Starfleet, but you should at least start considering something, some goal to work toward. Why not concentrate on your writing? I will, Dad, don't worry. All right, enough lecturing, Sisko said. But do me a favor, he added. From now on, let's limit your time in that arcade to 1 hour a day, all right? Jake brightened. He'd expected something far worse. Okay, Dad, it's a deal. Nog's Uncle Quark was not quite so understanding.
Where have you been, boy?
Quark said.
Go clean one of those tables. New customers can't sit at a dirty table.
Quark's Ferengi eyes flashed as he leaned over the young boy, who looked away in the standard gesture of respect.
And you know what it means when people can't sit at the tables? They can't buy drinks, and when they can't buy drinks, we don't make any latinum.
Yes, Uncle, Nog said.
That's an important rule of economics, Quark said. Have you been at the arcade again?
Nog panicked, looked from side to side.
Why do you ask, Uncle?
Quark scowled.
I can smell it on you.
Nog grabbed an empty tray from behind the bar. Off at one of the Dabo tables, a crowd of players squealed in delight as they won. Quark whirled and clicked his sharp teeth together.
Bah! More losses for the house,
he said.
Uncle?
Nog said.
I think I see some empty glasses over there and some dishes. I'll go clean them up right away.
Quark waggled a clawed finger at him.
You spend too much time at that arcade, boy. You should be here working, earning a living.
But Nog thought fast.
I'm doing research in entertainment systems.
His words picked up speed as the excuse came to him.
Isn't that one of the rules of acquisition? To learn the customer's weaknesses so you can better take advantage of him? Rule number 87,
Quark answered automatically. Nog's father, Rom, scurried behind the bar and tripped, spilling a tray full of beverage containers. Quark whirled to snap at his brother. Luckily, most of the containers were empty, or Quark would have been much more upset. As soon as Quark had finished yelling at him, Rom turned and glared at Nog.
And where have you been, my son? He said. We need your help here.
Quark brushed him away.
I'm taking care of this, Rom. You've got work to do. Get that table another selenium fizz, and don't go so heavy on the synthahol this time.
Yes, brother,
Rom said, and scurried to the drink replicator station behind the bar.
Now you listen to me, boy,
Quark said to Nog.
I think it's admirable that you're learning about entertainment systems. There could be a great career in it for you someday. But right now, you're working for me, here. Playing games in that arcade is not going to help you out as much as putting in your time here.
Yes, Uncle, Nog said. From this point on, I will limit my time to, he paused, 2 hours a day, which was exactly the amount of time he currently spent.
10 minutes,
Quark countered.
1 hour?
Nog asked hopefully.
Agreed,
Quark said.
Now go clean those tables.
Chapter 2. The alien disembarked from a Bajoran transport shuttle, then stood alone. As the other passengers came off the ship onto Deep Space Nine, they chatted with companions or looked around for points of contact. The alien, though, simply stopped, drinking in the details of the space station. He had a narrow, bird-like face that tapered to a curving point of hardened skin around a long, toothless mouth slit. Nostril slashes rippled alongside the hardened beak, membranes flickering as the alien drew in the scents of Deep Space Nine. His skin was grayish-brown, but a brilliant crest of glittering emerald-green scale feathers rippled from the base of his nose to a jeweled point on the top of his head. His eyes were solid black and glinted in the light of the station. The alien had a purpose, and he knew exactly where he wanted to go. As the other passengers jostled around him, he took only a moment to gain his bearings. Then he set off for the promenade and the arcade. Once there, he disregarded the swirling electronic noises of 1,000 entertainment systems. Waving half a bar of gold-pressed latinum, he bribed one of the gaming attendants to allow him access into the computer scoring records of the most difficult simulations. The curious attendant peered over the alien's shoulder, trying to spy the numbers that so interested the alien. But with a shove of his horned fist, the alien knocked the attendant away.
Privacy, please, he said. I paid you enough.
The attendant frowned and then went off in search of other customers. With a few commands expertly entered into the computer system, the alien managed to support the numbers scrolling in front of him. His glittering black eyes narrowed. 2 players, in particular, stood out well above the other contestants. They consistently had the highest scores, good reaction times, good ingenuity, excellent. The alien's hard beak did not permit him a smile, but he nodded his head. The emerald-green crest trembled in the flickering light of the arcade. Jake, Sisko, and Nog. He would find them and make them an offer they couldn't refuse. The next day, Jake and Nog emerged from the sealed arcade game booth, congratulating each other. Jake held up his hand in a high five, and Nog slapped it.
We're partners,
Nog said.
the best ever.
Jake agreed with a laugh. No one in the history of the station has ever successfully completed the escape through the wormhole simulation.
Until now,
Nog said, rubbing his clawed hands together.
We're the best.
Do you think your uncle will get us something to celebrate, like an Antarian shake? Jake asked hopefully. Nog lowered his gaze.
We can ask,
he said, and his voice became quieter.
But I doubt it. There's no profit in celebrating.
They turned and glanced up to see a strange, tall alien step forward to block their way. He wore a padded tunic of some kind, of dark green leather polished to a bright glossiness. It reminded Jake of the shell of a scarab beetle.
Excuse me,
the alien said. His words had a warbling tone that made his voice sound musical and exotic.
You are the great gamers.
He indicated the glowing champion's score on the outer door of the arcade, the highest score ever recorded there.
You are the skilled human, Jake Sisko, and the Ferengi Nog.
Yeah, that's us, Jake said.
Allow me to congratulate you. My name is Quiltek. Would you allow me to buy you something to commemorate your achievement?
He asked.
An Antarian shake for each of you, perhaps?
Jake and Nog looked at each other, their eyes lighting up.
But what do you want?
Nog asked skeptically. The alien's bobbing nod was like a bird pecking for insects.
I have a matter I wish to discuss with you. In more comfortable surroundings,
Quiltek trilled.
Let's go to my uncle's place,
Nog said, and they hurried off down the promenade to Quark's. Nog's father, Rom, was working behind the bar while Quark himself negotiated some sort of deal in the back room. The bar crowd was sparse in the mid-afternoon slow hours, and Rom eyed the boys suspiciously as they came in with the stranger and ordered 2 Antarian shakes.
And how do you expect to pay for these luxuries?
Rom said, looking sidelong at Quiltek. The bird-like alien reached a slender, horned hand into his glossy green jerkin and withdrew several glittering pieces of metal.
Oh, very well,
Rom said, his face brightening.
Welcome to Quark's place, sir.
The older Ferengi flashed a look at his son.
You're welcome to bring friends like these in any time you like, boy. Can I get you anything, sir? Anything to drink?
Yes, Quiltek answered. I would like water, a glass of water.
Rom frowned.
Would you like anything in that?
Yes, Quiltek answered. I would like ice.
Rom shuffled his feet, uncertain what to do.
There's a charge for that, you know. We don't give away free drinks.
That is acceptable,
Quiltek answered. Rom bustled away to get their orders as Jake and Nog followed the bird-like alien to a small table in the corner, far from other patrons. Rom brought their drinks and then backed away, hesitating just within Ferengi earshot, and waited. He performed distracting duties as he clumsily tried to eavesdrop, but Quiltek said nothing until Rom gave up in disgust and stomped back to the bar. Quiltek leaned closer to the boys and spoke quietly. Allow me to explain myself. I am the administrator of an automated mining consortium. That probably sounds boring to great gamers like yourselves, but trust me, your skills are exactly what I am looking for. I would like to offer you both a job, working for me.
A job?
Nog sat up, grinning broadly and showing his sharp Ferengi teeth.
To earn real latinum?
Yes, real latinum, Quiltek said. Jake was more suspicious. He folded and unfolded his hands on the tabletop, then took a sip of his shake. But what would you want us to do? He said. What skills do we have that a mining company could want? Quiltek said, and made a fluting whistle. Our mining company operates by telepresence. We send large excavating machines, ore haulers, and mineral extractors to hostile, uninhabitable planets. On these planets, fiery environments or terrible storms, earthquakes, or poisonous atmospheres make it too dangerous to send in live workers. He drew a musical breath through his nostril slits. He stared down at them, his close-set eyes glittering. So instead, we park a mining station in orbit around one of these planets. Then we use simulators, very much like the ones in your arcade game booths. with talented operators such as yourselves behind the controls to direct the mining operations from long distance in perfect safety. We get our ore, you get paid to play simulation games, and everyone is happy."
"Sounds good,"
Nog said. "What's the catch?" Jake asked. Already, he was wondering what his father would say. "Ah," Quiltex said with another fluting sound. "Because these mining operations are on very hazardous planets, we lose a good deal of machinery. That is why we need people with fast reaction speeds, with a genuine feel for how the machines work. We need good operators. Otherwise, we lose so much equipment through clumsy accidents that the value is barely offset by the precious minerals we mine. Of course, mining simulations can be rather dry and tedious, so we have embellished them, enhanced the telepresence machines so that you actually feel as if you're playing a game by creating fake adversaries to fight." He spread his horned hands on the table next to Jake's. "We think you might enjoy it." Jake listened to Quiltex's words, but already possibilities rang through his mind. It would be fantastic to show his father that the skills he had developed by playing so many arcade games had actually proven valuable, making him a prime candidate for an important job. "We'll have to ask our parents," Jake said. "But there's a school vacation coming up soon. Maybe we could work during the break on trial basis?" Quiltex bobbed his head in a jerky nod again. "That would be acceptable," he said. "I will wait." Commander Benjamin Sisko leaned across the bar, staring at Quark. Rom stood behind his brother, kneading his clawed hands together and letting Quark do the talking.
"So what do you think about all this, Quark?" Sisko said. "Does it sound too good to be true?"
"I think it's an intelligent business proposition," Quark answered quickly. "While it will be a great burden to lose the valuable assistance the boy has given me in the bar, Mr. Quiltex has adequately compensated me for my inconvenience."
"And the pay is good, too," Rom interrupted. "I believe it's the boys' pay," Sisko said. "Yes, of course," Rom said. "We will place it in trust to be used for the betterment of the boys' later years." "I see," Sisko said, not believing it for a minute. "I have to say that while I'm leery about letting Jake and Nog go off with this stranger, I have checked against Federation records and found that Quiltex Mining Company seems to be legitimate. They operate just the way he says, telepresent mining operations on uninhabitable worlds. They've just started operations in the Gamma Quadrant on the other side of the wormhole." Jake and Nog sat at one of the front tables watching the conversation. Jake's eyes were bright. "Please, Dad," he said. Sisko continued. "Jake and Nog do have the capabilities necessary for this particular job. Besides, I'm inclined to think it'll be a good credit for them in their employment files. It'll teach both boys some responsibility and give them job experience, and provided we're allowed to keep in contact with them and receive regular progress reports." He turned slowly to look at his son's beaming face. "I see no harm in letting them go off for a trial stint during the school break next week." Jake and Nog jumped up and slapped each other's hands in congratulation. "You're excited now," Sisko said, looking at them sternly. "But you may find that working a tough job isn't as fun as you think it'll be." "Oh, Dad," Jake said. In the end, Quark did buy the boys an Ontarian shake, a small one to split, as a celebration gesture.